Assalamualaikum, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will discuss formalism. Formalism, before I started formalism, I will discuss what is literary criticism and literary theory. Literary criticism means the interpretation of literary works. Criticism means how we interpret the literary works. And literary theory is the study of the principles by which we attempt to understand the literature. It is the theory through which we understand and grasp um, the true meaning of the literary work. Formalism that started in 1914 to 1960. Formalism is a school of literary criticism and literary theory having mainly to do with the structural purposes of a particular text. It means it focuses on the form. It is the study of a text without taking into account any outside influence. Historical prospect. It emerged in Russia around 1915, in United States and United Kingdom from the end of Second World War through 1970. Founders of Russian formalism. First one is the Viktor Shklovsky, Roman Jakobson, Prop, Yuri Tynanev, and the next after Russian formalists, there are new critics that are I.A. Richards, T.S. Eliot, John Crowe Ransom. Russian formalism. It focuses on the formal method, analysis of the text, but their main concern with the scientific method mean they shift away from the moral approach and they focus on the scientific approach. Theory of literariness. In formalism, we also discuss the theory of literariness that is given by Jacobson and other formalists develop a theory of literariness. What made literary text different from the other text? That is the main question that is highlighted in theory of literariness. In try to answer this question, they focus on the formal aspect of the literature, means the literariness can be achieved by the formal aspect of the literature. Focus on form and language, not on the content and biography or culture. Formalists always work with individual text and study of literature as a science, means they focus on the scientific method. And new critics focused on the individual meaning of the individual text. Concept of defamiliarization also studied in the formalism. The definition of defamiliarization is the artistic technique of presenting to audiences common things in an unfamiliar or strange way. Means the thing that we know that is represented in literature as an unfamiliar way in order to enhance the perception of the familiar. The initial focus of the formalist was in poetry. As there is rhyme, there is a regular meter, metaphors, and symbols. How does poetry defamiliarize to an ordinary language? I mean, how can we achieve defamiliarization in poetry? Uses of an impressive range of devices such as rhyme, meter, metaphors, and symbols. With the help of these devices, we can achieve defamiliarization. What is the function of these devices? To exploit ambiguity, whereas in time article avoid ambiguity. I mean, in poetry it creates ambiguity with the help of the meter, with the help of the metaphors, to draw the attention and remind us that we are dealing with the language. With the help of the metaphor symbol, it tells us that we are dealing with the language and not with the real word. For example, here you can see the example of beans, means, hints. It shows the rhyming words at the end of the word. How can we distinguish the language of fiction from ordinary language? These are the differences that how can we distinguish it from the ordinary language? Difference in presentation, as I have discussed earlier about the poetry. Poetry has there are many devices that is used, rhyme, metaphor, etc. Formalists use two concepts, fabula and sujet. Fabula focuses on the main story, for example, romantic story, and sujet means the plot and the presentation of the story, how it is presented in a specific story. Folk tales. Probe gives the example that he studies 100 different folk tales and fairy tales and found 31 different functions. But he also mentioned that collapse 100 different sources into one single fabula. For example, there is a one fabula, a romantic story that it consists of the different plot that there is a different presentation of the same fabula. How is defamiliarization achieved in a text? Through foregrounding. Foregrounding is made possible by the existence of a background. Means there should be a background through which we can see a picture that is foregrounding to us. We can see in advertisement there is a foregrounding, the thing that is advertising, that is enhanced in the advertisement. Okay, that is known as foregrounding. And background, unfamiliar and familiar, means the foreground and background, familiar and unfamiliar, create literary effect. Conclusion. In literary text, message that is primarily oriented towards itself, means the message is related to itself, the literature, its own form, and not towards the outside the world or its reader. It is related to its own text. Literary text will always usually have other orientations. It generally refer it generally will refer us in one way or another to the real world. This orientation towards itself, its poetic function is dominant, means it focus on its own text. It doesn't relate to any other or external text and any other different text. Thank you. If you have any question, you can ask in comment box. Don't forget to subscribe and like my video.